Alright, so this video needs to be discussed. Is the Beyblade Burst characters and their bays weaker than the Metal series? Firstly, we need to look at the characters. So in this video, I'm going to describe to you each character's their powers and exactly how powerful and how strong the whole Beyblade system works between the Metal versus the Burst. We need to understand, right? Because I'm going to show you brackets, right? From basically, I looked on Google and I managed to find some brackets that describe the power scaling of the Beyblade Burst and the Beyblade Metal series. Now, off the bat, I'm going to reveal to you exactly who's the strongest and why. Okay. Firstly, right off the bat, we need to understand the power of Ryuga. Ryuga, right off the bat, and I'm talking about Beybladers like Ryuga, Jinga, Rago. And by the way, Rago, I'm sorry, but Rago defeats every Burst character. The reason for that is because Rago literally has the power to destroy the world. Now, you have to understand as well, right? Rago was able to create literally dimensions, and Rago can create freaking suns. Rago is powerful. Like, there's no Beyblade character outside of the Metal series that can defeat Rago. He's on a whole nother level. Now when we understand the Burst series, right? The Burst series mainly consists of small stadiums and limited stadiums. Completely different from the Metal series, where the Metal series, the stadiums were much bigger. Now, when we look at the system, right, of, Beyblade, the Beyblade Metal series characters, right, for example, Ryuga and his powers, right, Jinga and his powers, Kyoya and his powers, obviously we can understand, the Metal series does possess strong powers within their base, and the same thing with the Burst base. But I think it's pretty obvious, right, when we look at the system of the Burst base versus the Metal base. The Metal bays are obviously stronger based on weight and based on material, because like I said, they are metal. They barely get destroyed. Like I said, when you see in the Burst series, right, notice how all of their bays are easily able to get burst and broken. In the Metal series, that rarely happens. That's clearly a sign that the Metal series possesses stronger material. Now, this does not mean that the Burst series is weak. It simply just means the Beyblade Metal series has stronger characters and they have stronger bays. So yeah, overall, we can clearly understand Beybladers like, for example, you have Louis, there's, Vault, there's Free, there's many, there's Shu. I think we can understand, right, that the Beyblade Burst characters are very, very powerful. Very, very powerful, and they can definitely go toe to toe with the Metal, with the Metal characters. You know what I mean? But once again, when we're actually able to observe actual powers and strength, clearly the Metal series has the upper hand when it comes to strength. So right now I'm showing you the brackets of the strongest characters in the Burst series, right? Right off the bat, you can clearly see these are opponents that can go toe to toe with the Metal series. The one in the high brackets, mainly including people like Vault, and of course, I don't know the exact names of all the Beyblade Burst characters, but we do know they are pretty strong. The guy who possesses Achilles, it's pretty obvious, man. Spriggan, you got Longinus, you have Fafnir, Valkyrie, Achilles, so many bays. Like, you got Dragon, very, very powerful, man. You got Dante as well with his dragon. You can clearly see these bladers can definitely go toe to toe against, against the Metal series 100%. So there is competition. There is 100% competition there. That is true. Okay, now let's look at the brackets of the Metal series. Now we can clearly see there's a huge power gap. There's a huge power gap and there's a huge power difference, right? And once again, let me just say this real quick. The Burst bays don't possess the same powers as the metal bays. The metal bays are able to fly through space. They're able to destroy planets. The burst, the metal bays are far stronger than the burst bays. So it would be very, very hard, and it's very unlikely for the burst bays to defeat the metal bays, as the metal bays come from a complete different time period. And now that does not mean that the burst bays are weak. It simply just means the metal series has stronger opponents and has stronger bays and stronger characters. For example, Ryuga could take on the entire burst series, and I'm pretty sure he would wipe out most of them, because Ryuga's powerful. Ryuga's powerful, you know what I mean? Same thing with Jinga. Jinga can take on them, and Jinga can take on most of the burst characters as well. Once again, it does not mean that the burst characters are weaker. It just simply means there's a big power difference, and a lot of them are significantly weaker. I'm pretty sure there is some that can defeat the Metal Series characters, but only some. You feel me? Now, let's look at the whole training and the origin stories of each Bladers, right? So, of course, the burst series, right, consists of Bladers that had a deep journey of their training with their bays. Now, compare that to the Metal series. The Metal series had more intense training, and it's clearly shown through the episodes. The Metal series had far more intense training, far more. And this is obviously clearly shown, I think it's more than, like, for example, right, Ryuga, his version of training was shooting his bay into blazing lava. And that was his version of training. Jumping down mountains, being able to fly. Ryuga can literally teleport. He can destroy places of the earth with just his bay, and he can create fire and, just a lot of, eruptions. Now with Kyoya, he can possess, tornadoes, massive tornadoes. With Jinga, he can literally destroy an entire planet with just his special move. So let alone, it's very, very obvious the Metal series is far more advanced when it comes to character development and when it comes to training and strength. You feel me? So overall, it's time to end this debate. The Beyblade burst characters are far weaker than the Beyblade metal characters. However, there is some that can hold their ground against the metal characters. But it's very, very obvious that there's a big power difference, and the Beyblade metal characters, right, and their metal bays are far more stronger than the burst bays. It's very, very obvious. I think people need to wake up and stop living in denial and accept the truth that the Beyblade burst characters are actually weaker. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just simply means there's a difference in strength. You feel me?